Welcome to podcast number 1. Andy Watts, who is probably the most prolific guy in the disposable catering industry. He has the number 1 search terms in probably the most categories. He's a young entrepreneur, started before entrepreneur was even the fashionable coin term. So let's follow along his journey of life, seeing from a young man, growing all the way through to being the owner of Cater for You, which is the best online store for buying your disposable products. He's also a director of Trading Depot and Chalfont Web Design, which you'll find out was some of his early days. We'll find out how he started, what it's like to be running this business, some of the trials and tribulations of how he's got there, how he's not into hockey anymore because he's too old and has too many issues. So we'll find out about that as well. So please follow along, enjoy the podcast, leave us comments, and follow us on social media, and definitely comment. Thank you. So we're going to start today introducing our guest on the podcast, Andy Watts, Director of Cater for You, Chalfont Web Design, and Trading Depot.
Morning. Morning, Darren.
Good morning, Andy. I put down here some of your top achievements. Starting up as an early entrepreneur and now running a very successful catering business, Cater for You.
Catering disposable packaging company, yep.
Disposable packaging, that's it.
Disposable packaging, everyone's favourite these days.
Everyone's favourite subject. So you may well think that's not particularly green, which is my first impression with disposable packaging. So I'm sure Andy will change our mind during the conversation as well. So we're going to go straight into a bit of an interview style and see what we can learn today. So first question I had written down really was, what was your sort of planned career and how did it change? Where did you start?
Well, to be fair, when I was 18, everybody else had their career mapped out in front of them. I had no idea. So at the time I was doing a load of gardening, a load of library work. I was at school, didn't know where I was going to go. Eventually ended up at Newland Park, which is now part of Buckinghamshire University College, and scrabbled together a degree. But whilst I was working there, whilst I was studying there and working there, I held down a number of jobs as well, and eventually I had a choice of either the finance or marketing stream, selected the marketing stream, and off from there, really.
Yeah, it was obviously a good decision, being marketing the forefront of all businesses today, obviously online as well, as we'll find out.
Well, quite interesting is you often wonder, sometimes people in charge of companies, they're finance people. Should it be marketing? They look at the figures, but they're often the first to cut the salespeople, then, aren't they, in the marketing?
Yeah, and
rather
that's
than
the worst way.
Grow the way out of trouble.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. We see that quite a lot in businesses, and that with the finance people literally studying figures, cutting things back, wanting return on investment, and very often with marketing, trying to get direct return on investment, unless you're lucky with a pay-per-click and you can say, yeah, I've paid this amount and I've got that amount back. But when you're doing marketing, very often it can be brand, and what's the value of that marketing?
Well, when I was in my very first few jobs in marketing, you've hit the nail on the head. Marketing was so difficult to get an ROI. And you'd send letters out, you'd spend £10,000 doing a marketing campaign. I used to work with a IT reseller, do marketing campaigns for them. We'd spend £10,000 organising a seminar and get 45 people turning up. The best way we knew any return on investment was whether the letters came back in the post from a mail shot. It was absolutely ridiculous. So when we saw the internet, when I saw the internet first of all, it was just, this has got to be the way forward. You can measure who's looking at your site, which pages they're looking at. In the early days, Google would tell you what search terms they used. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah, gold dust information to find out how people are finding you and then capitalise on that, I suppose.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And nowadays we analyse and look deeper, and we try and build more content about what people are looking for. But in the early days, it was really stumbling around because people used to do generic content for trying to get people to attend seminars or respond on the phone. But absolutely brilliant. Funnily enough, when I was preparing for this, I remembered my first dissertation when I was doing the degree.
Have you got it still? It was a long time ago. Was it with a quill?
Quill and ink, yes.
Yeah.
I was with Jacob Rees-Mogg at the time. I wasn't actually. I couldn't afford anything like his education. But interestingly, I did channels to market. I'd completely forgotten about this. And the reason I didn't get a first in my degree was because I said, I think the internet is going to be massive. And this was back in 94 and 95. It had only just started. I'd seen in one of my job placements someone using something called a CompuServe account, which you've probably never heard of. Yeah. Very early days of the internet. And I could see the internet, and I put in my dissertation, channels to market, internet will be massive.
Yeah.
But he didn't give me a first because I couldn't back it up with evidence, of course, because there was no evidence because it was 94, 95, just 2 years after it started.
Wow, yeah. So you were definitely one of the forefronts of thinking of marketing, online, websites, and the future of business today, which is killing the high street.
Well, high street haven't adapted, people haven't adapted, and everything, the internet has changed everything. It's still changing things. There will be massive changes to come, even now. I see eBay and some of the other early forerunners, loads of brand names already gone by the wayside. The early search engines completely dominated now by Google.
Jeeves.
Alta Vista was
Alta
one of the
Vista,
originals, done by a digital equipment company, which was part of Compaq, which then became part of HP. All completely disappeared, and High Street's exactly the same. They're needing to evolve, and they're not evolving. They can't figure it out. But that's what happened with Trading Depot in the early days, of course.
Yeah, true.
We couldn't figure out how to deliver the goods and not mess the existing channels up, and that's why Trading Depot came into being, just to be a dedicated internet provider.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas we've been to seminars together recently, and we now know actually it's a hybrid mix is the way forward.
Yeah, omni-channel as they know.
Omni-channel.
Omni-channel is the buzzword of B2B markets, and B2X, which is a new word I've recently seen quite a few times. That's all really useful information, and it's good because you didn't have a career mapped out, and that's the thing that I think a lot of young people don't realise is they kind of like they feel they need a path, they need to make a difference to people, or they need to have a path, and they haven't got one, and they sort of fall by the wayside. They sort of bumble around, not knowing what they're going to do. So I think it's interesting to see that where you've come from is almost in the same place. Didn't really know what you wanted to do. Probably had a few ideas.
Absolutely none, Darren.
None
idea.
whatsoever.
I just love the internet when I first saw it. What you're saying there about young people, just go and do what you enjoy, actually. And if you see something and you can't do it in your full-time job, do it as a part-time job. I learned how to web design. As you know, I love playing hockey, or used to love playing hockey.
Yeah. Too old for it.
Too old, yeah, always injured, broken. And Darren Anderton of my local hockey club. Oh no, that's an old reference as well.
No idea.
No idea. Tottenham player.
No idea.
Okay.
Not into sport.
Yeah, it's if you want to develop a career in something or try it, do it in your spare time. I developed my first website for the hockey club, and we did that back in '97, and it took off. We were one of the first hockey clubs in the country to have a website, and I learnt my web design trade from there, and from there people heard that I did websites and recruited me, which is how I started in 2001 in my web design company, purely almost by accident, by pursuing something I enjoyed. So
your side hustle is what they kind of call it today.
Is that what
they call it today, Andy? Yeah, the young lads and the young kids today are calling it a side hustle. Basically a way of making money on the side of their regular job, which they hope to be a career one day. And I think you're right. I think the important thing is to have something you're passionate about, keep you motivated, keep working on that. But so many of them sort of also forget to sort of put the 100% into their main job at the same time, because they so want to get on with their side job. And I think you have to learn to be motivated in both.
Totally, yeah. If you can't, you can learn so much in your full-time job, even if it's bad things. I had terrible managers for years and years, number of jobs early on. I didn't have a clue, not a clue, but you can still learn from bad managers. And when you learn and set up your own company, you can work out how to treat people, how not to treat people, how to run campaigns, just from learning from bad experiences as well as good ones.
No, you're right. I mean, I remember years ago when I was running a bathroom showroom, at the time there was a book called How to Manage Your Manager, and I actually read that. Yeah, I read the handbook for employees and the handbook to How to Manage Your Manager. I read both sides of the story, and I actually found the one to How to Manage Your Manager more interesting than the one of employees at the time, because it was just an interesting book, giving you some really good insights into how you as an employee can actually, kind of adapt your own manager into managing you. It was very reverse psychology. It was very clever.
I can imagine, and certainly getting the most out of people, just following what they're interested in as well. There's no point trying to sort of force them to do something. Obviously, you recruit them to do a job. If you see something that has a bright spark which will benefit your business, you've got to harness that. Yeah,
definitely. We'll move on to the sort of second one. Really, I mean, we've already gone a little bit into it, but I thought, how did Cater for you start? Obviously you've set up a hockey club website. You've mentioned you've done a bit of website work for other people, but then you fall into an online disposable packaging website. That's that's really
bit random, isn't it?
Well, it's very random, but also it's really good that you've actually taken what you've loved and actually set up a company opposed to working for other people. And I think that's what a lot of people today, would like to be able to do, is to run their own business, be their own person, manage their own time, have all those real enjoyable parts of managing people. But on the other side, there must have been a massive learning curve to working for yourself, then to having employees, other people to deal with. How does all that sort of start anyway to begin with?
Well, you're absolutely right, and I must say today it's much easier to set up a company than it ever has been before. Back in the 80s and 90s, it was so difficult to set up a new company. But I set Chalfont Web Design up in 2001, and the interesting thing was a lot of people in those days used to specialise in a vertical market. In the early days of web design, you couldn't do that because you couldn't push a number of people to the top of the search engines. Back in those days, it was much easier to get to the top once you got the basic formula. And I was working for a client who, unfortunately, the hosting screwed up and they sacked me. Completely beyond my control. I was desperately sad about it, and terrible. Mentioned it to another client. He said, I've always wanted to be in catering and do that kind of thing, catering disposables. So I set the business up for them, had a part share in it, and that's how it happened, because I couldn't work for multiple people in different industries. When I worked with you 20 years ago, I was approached by other people, always checked whether I could. Overlapping, no, okay. Yeah. So that's how Caterview started, got it going with a business partner who had warehousing, and started work on it. More of a side project really as Chalfont Web Design. Did that for 4 or 5 years as a side project. It was so useful which then helped my other clients, because I found out so many things and tricks that you could try on your own website, which you couldn't try on your client's website. If it went spectacularly wrong, for example, and you completely lost all rankings, disaster. Yeah. But as your own company, you can try it and try different things, and we still have that ethos today. Yeah,
you mentioned a minute ago about having the formula of the website. So what is the formula of the website?
Hasn't changed much over 20 years. It's incredible, really.
Yep.
The basics are good content on the website, information that people are interested in reading. They want to come to your website to read that information. That's why they've typed you in a search engine. Organising that content properly on the website, and then that will naturally get you trust around the website. People will link to that information if it's relevant and interesting. And it's still the same today. It's keeping yourself focused on the content, good quality content, making yourself relevant to your target audience.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a massive longer term strategy, and again at Trading Depot, it's definitely a big part of our business is having the content. We have a full-time content writer to write content for the site. That's key, because it's otherwise you just blend in with everyone else, don't you? Don't you just if you haven't got the right relevant content and
totally agree. When we first set up Trading Depot 12 years ago now, is it 10 years ago? 2006. I think we worked on it for a year. 2005 we started on it, and there was no information. The manufacturers just had the odd standard literature sheet. There was nothing on the internet, so we couldn't do duplicate content, which is a big problem now, where everyone just copies and pastes it from the manufacturer's site, which is no good, because Google is not going to rank you above the manufacturer's site, which is why the manufacturer dominates the top 10 sometimes, because you've got exactly the same information. But back 10, 12 years ago, we wrote it all ourselves. You did all the photography. Nobody had any decent images.
No. Could argue we didn't then after I did it, but yeah, we had our own unique images, and a lot of the manufacturers didn't even have images.
No.
I think we did several thousands of images back then.
And that's been the great philosophy of Trading Depot, where I try to cater for you and other customers, is try and push things forward, try things new, and don't just stand still and rely on other people. You've got to rely on yourself and make yourselves unique in the market. Now it's tremendously competitive, and that philosophy is a good one to have. But in the old days, that still worked because there was no other information out there. So the same principles have applied since we were doing the websites back in 97, back in 95, 2001, when I started Caterview in 2003, when we started Trading Depot in 2005. Unique content and the ability to organise that properly, delivering the information that your clients require as and when they're looking for it, rather than just putting the bare minimum and copying it from a manufacturer or supplier's website. Yeah. As we were saying, Trading Depot manufacturers didn't have any information, or it was just big glossy brochures back in 2005, 2006. So we had to do a lot of it ourselves. We had to look at the individual boxes. We had to type up from that. Caterview's the same. completely sleepy industry, backwards B2B industry. There was no information, so we had to create all the information ourselves, all the new images ourselves. But that created ourselves as leaders, both Caterview and Trading Depot, which is why we're still there today, and it's still so important to push forward. I'll give you a great example from my web design days. I used to get phoned up with management consultants from the local area quite a lot, and they typically would say, I have a 6-page PowerPoint that I'd like to be put on the website, just bullet points, and I'd like to be number one for the search term management consultant, but put no information so people contact me. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No.
You're not going to get any trust, and Google's not going to.
Not enough content. That's one thing I find today, and I remember we were chatting a little while ago, and you said to me you was in your studio at KFU taking pictures and doing the writing the content, measuring the cups, and getting, because there isn't the content for that. You haven't got the details. The information isn't there. So then you've got to write a description of a cup. And that's interesting. I mean, that to me, I think is fabulous when you look at the rankings that KFU have and the amount of positioning for number one for God knows how many search terms. I mean, the amount of search terms you guys are number one for is amazing.
Thank you.
It is, but it goes down to them core basics, doesn't it, of content? So that's really interesting. Just moving on a little bit. So making your product, as in you, best in class is kind of my word. But what makes you guys better than the rest? I know we covered a lot of it off already, but just quickly, what's the what made you different back in the day?
Well, back in the day, it goes back to the content again. We were the ones that made the effort to put a lot of content up, give people the information they want, and they could easily make a purchase online. Caterview and the industry it's in, the food packaging industry, is so backward. A bit like Trading Depot was, really.
Yeah, a bit like trade area.
Yeah, a lot of these B2Bs, they're still like that. And you go to seminars and events within the industry, and it's astonishing how they're still totally built differently to sell. Things are changing. They have changed quite a lot, and we've got a lot more competitors than we used to have.
Yep.
But the fact that traditional businesses, you could only buy once a week. You'd have a set delivery run, local deliveries. You couldn't buy from anybody else in the country. It was impossible to open it was difficult to open an account. You'd have to have a salesperson to negotiate your personal prices. So we set up straightforward. Here are the products, here are the prices, bulk discounts for volume.
Accounts? Do you have accounts?
No, we don't have any accounts.
So that again, we, the Trading Depot, don't have any accounts, and it doesn't affect us. A huge amount of trade use us, and the trade guys, the people, the merchants supplying trade seem to think, we've got it because we're supplying accounts. These guys ain't interested. They've got credit cards, haven't they?
Exactly.
That's the same as using a credit account.
Philosophy we took, instead of us having the risk and we couldn't give credit, it would just kill our cash flow. Especially in the early days when we were starting up, people have up to 45 days on their credit card. That's all they need. And we offered smaller offerings as well. So we, where it was possible, keep everything food safe and hygienic. So if there was a sealed sleeve inside a case, we broke it down into those small quantities.
Perfect.
So if you're just starting up as a business,
or if you're a little shop and you ain't got a lot of storage,
shop, exactly. Yeah, they've just got little cubby holes. If you've gone and got a bacon sandwich or coffee from a small deli shop at a railway station or somewhere like that, they've got no storage space at all.
No.
And we can deliver. We just use nationwide carriers and deliver anywhere.
Yeah. And do you think that's changed the market of the other people had to adapt? The other people in your scene?
To a certain extent, larger customers will still demand credit, and we just turn the business down.
Yeah.
And they will look at major multiples to try and get bigger discounts. Certainly the larger customers and the larger suppliers can probably offer slightly better prices than we can. But our prices are keen for the majority of the small and medium-sized businesses, just the larger ones. But it is changing. But again, they've got the problem of how do they deal with the price list they've put in for those customers whilst publishing prices online and trying to get around the local deliveries. They've all got vans which they need to sustain. And it's such a problem. It's not just my industry or the building industry, it's most other industrial areas. That B2B area. And you come back to what we were saying earlier about the omni-channel and how do they mix that all up. If you're a new company, it's so easy, you haven't got that problem. If you're an old company, you try and maintain the profitable accounts whilst also wanting to win the new ones. Very difficult. Yeah,
it sounds that you guys haven't really offered the credit, but you changed the delivery, you changed the package, the sleeves, so you made yourselves different. So what I'm trying to get at is that when you're speaking to young people and they're trying to come up with a new idea, you could even you don't have to reinvent the wheel and invent a new product. You could just change the way that the market is, the service, try and break the wheel and make it work a different way. And that's what you did back then, really. Is that it was already working, it was there. You just came in and used the internet at the time to change the model of how that supply and demand was working. But that could be done again today. Somebody can come in and break your model down in a different way and disturb your business, couldn't they?
Absolutely, and small businesses are much nimbler than large businesses. So as you become more successful as a business, you naturally become less nimble. You have to suddenly have processes internally. You may have ISO 9001, which is a good thing for quality side of things. Mm-hmm. But larger companies are less nimble, and as a smaller person, you can react much quicker and be proactive with customer requirements. If somebody phones up specific, you want the business more than, say, a larger company who might go turn it down for some reason. I'd like to think Case of You aren't like that, but there might be instances in the future where we can't do something. We see it on eBay now, actually, where people are splitting down packs even further, but then it's not food safe, and we won't do that because we have to keep our products food safe and hygienic for resale. But other people buy a sleeve from us maybe, or a case from us, and then sell it on eBay.
Really?
And that's how smaller companies will. But it's the same with the DIY industry. I remember when we were finding packs of screwdrivers on eBay, which people were making pennies on. You can't sustain living on that.
No, I mean the whole of the power tool market, to give another example, that was changed completely by the internet, because people traditionally you would sell into a merchant a pack of tools. You might get 7 DeWalt drills. You'll take 7 DeWalt drills in. You'll have your big drill driver. You take all the different bits and pieces. You'll have 3 batteries with it. But then somebody online would take that whole kit, buy 10 of them at a decent price, break them down into individual naked bodies, and then they would sell those online at all different prices. And that is now how power tool market works today.
How is it?
All the big ones, all the big power tool suppliers will be buying kits in bulk, and they break it down into essentially what you guys were saying you did back in the day.
Yeah.
And they would take it down, and then when the tool arrives at your house, you'll end up with a £300 drill in literally a carrier bag. That's it. That's all you get. You're paying £300 for a drill. It doesn't come in a box. It doesn't come in packaging. It doesn't come just in a carrier bag.
The manufacturers won't see that, and
well, the manufacturers know it happens, and to me, from the marketing, if I had a brand, I wouldn't be happy about that. If you're selling a premium quality drill, it's part of a kit broken down, and it's in a sleeve, it's in a bag. And you look at the likes of the Coca-Cola brands, when they buy their multi-packs, they're very lucky. They put, this is a multi-pack can, and
same with crisps as well.
So they try and disturb that part of the market so people can't buy multi-packs and break them down and sell them in shops. Some of the shops do, but they're still trying to break that down. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that every market's kind of the same but different, if that makes any sense. Just moving on to fashion, and something that that really for me, for across all of these podcasts, is going to be key. But fashion trends in the markets, we're forever changing. Things are changing quicker today than they've ever changed before.
Absolutely.
My belief is that the next 2 to 5 years is going to be probably move as fast in retail as the last 10 years have. Because things with the online, things with socials, things with apps, things with voice, everything's moving at such a rate that I think we're going to see some huge changes with not only the high street but products and direct-to-consumer products. But just quickly with your industry, the buzzword recycling plastic straws, getting rid of plastic straws for paper. How's that changed in the market for you?
You're spot on. That has been such a big change in the last year, and quite rightly so as well, because people in the industry, I go to an environmental seminar each year within the industry, organised by the industry body, the FPA. Absolutely fascinating, but they were caught like rabbits in headlights when Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall did that fantastic documentary on paper cups, how they weren't recycled, and then Blue Planet obviously followed up with plastic in the oceans. All this was made aware to us just before it all happened, and they were, what we're going to do about it. Totally changed the market. Really interesting. As it happens, Kate, for you, because we're not part of the industry, we've had recycling information on all our products for a very long time. We've had a biodegradable section on there for over 10 years, which was I looked through the other day. I was quite surprised how long we'd had it for. But we've always sought these products out. We hate the EPS stuff, the foam stuff. We don't like shipping it anyway, but we think it's terrible. although it is the best insulator for products.
But isn't it a core part of your business? I mean, you hate it, but you love it. From it, obviously, it's a core part of your business.
It isn't a core part of the business. No. It's very light. It doesn't ship very well, but also we just don't like selling it. We don't because we're consumers, I guess, as well. We don't like seeing it now. We prefer the cardboard insulated products now. We've got a whole raft of things, but over the last year, huge changes in the market. Although I do think some of the conceptions are misconstrued, and I think there needs to be better education in the market as well. I'll give you an example. All plastics aren't all bad. They can be reused, and they do need to be disposed of properly and not just thrown out of the window, which is my concern with, say, biodegradable things. You say, oh, this will compost naturally. When they're composted naturally, what they mean is it has to be in an industrial facility and collected appropriately, not slung into a hedge where it will stay for many years.
And still can damage the environment that way.
Of course it is, yeah. And it just looks awful. People seem to think it is okay to chuck out of the window. But as I was saying, last year I've seen a huge change, and we've actually struggled to get hold of a lot of the product that we've been selling for the last 10 years because suddenly the big boys have sucked all the market, all the products out of the market, and there has been a shortage of products. But things like PET plastic containers, for example, we've made a conscious decision to stop PET because it is the most widely recyclable plastics out there, and that seems like an obvious way to go. People can collect it easily, can recycle it at the doorstep. By that I mean councils pick it up every 2 weeks, or however often it is at your local council, and it will be taken back to the factory and it can be reused, which seems better than trees being chopped down. They say a lot of it's FSC, which is forestry standard certified, but can we be sure? Can we be sure all of it's coming? All the product coming in from China is being sourced not from rainforests. I've heard whispers that they've done tests on it and it hasn't been. Some of the board shouldn't have been sourced from where it should be, and I think that will be the next scandal when someone puts some money into it and finds out where this board has been sourced from. Quite rightly too. We're very careful where we source from. We try and we have to trust our suppliers to a certain extent, but it's interesting. But going back to fashions as well, everyone was clamouring for a latte cup tax, which seemed like the right thing. The plastic bag tax has done well, but the industry have actually done some really good stuff in terms of organising themselves. Since being caught out completely by Hugh and the River Cottage documentary, they have organised themselves pretty well. And there's something called the PRM, which I'd never heard of, which applies to manufacturers of cups, food packaging, our whole industry. And it means that there is a tax put on when it's manufactured for the end of life, which goes towards the market value of the recycled material at the end. And I'm not an expert on it by any means.
You sound quite...
No, I'm not. I only know what I've touched upon, but they're talking about overhauling that completely, which I believe they announced in the budget, and it's called the PRN. And this will be a tax which will then go to more consistent packaging tax and recycling for local councils. Local councils are struggling for money, and that's one of the areas where it needs to be more consistency. Every single council within county councils, the district councils have all got differing recycling. That needs to be more recycling consistent, needs to be more consistent, and that will help to do that, which means more people will be able to recycle at doorstep. It just becomes a no-brainer for consumers.
Yeah, definitely. So we covered the packaging side of it, and in quite in depth there, which is really interesting. But then sort of for me, these fashion trends, and whether they be you're motivated by recycling or environmental, or even it's just like a new design. Whereas if you'd have gone back 10 years ago and 20 years ago, if that feature had happened on BBC Two and it was featured, that would have never had the steam, the speed and the steam that it had because of today's market with the press, social media is completely gained traction with it. And that was the bit for me that makes a difference, and that's why I keep saying about things will change so quickly, because you've noticed it this year in this particular sector and this particular trend, and it's so fast. Everyone got caught out. It happened almost overnight, and everyone's then big companies are going around. We're going to ditch plastic straws, and we're going to go to paper straws, with no real, decision other than the fact it's it's a trend, a fashion, or something someone's decided passionately about. A good thing, don't get me wrong, but without all the background thought behind it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, knee-jerk reaction, totally.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing people trying to suck one of McDonald's milkshakes up through a paper straw. It will just collapse.
Or bamboo.
Bamboo.
I've seen people selling packs of bamboo straws that you have to wash yourself. You buy them a little pack, they come in a little sleeve, you put them in your handbag or your bag, you take them with you everywhere you go, and it's made from bamboo. Is it?
It's quite difficult if you're eating in-house for a restaurant to get those straws cleaned to a hygienic standard. So, and that's what the problem of how to reusable takeaway cups in outlets as well, because someone brings a coffee cup back and it's their coffee cup, but have they washed it? And then someone gets ill afterwards because they've not washed it properly. Is it the restaurant's fault or is it the person's fault? Obviously, the best thing is to, say, for example, a major brand has a whole batch done. They give it to the customers. Customers bring it back and they swap it out for another one each time, so they know it's been cleaned hygienically.
Or it's been recycled correctly, I suppose, if it's a recyclable. It's a recyclable one. Because I was at Twickenham to the rugby at the weekend, and there you have to pay £1 for your plastic cup. It's a solid plastic cup. And then you just give it back at the end. I have no idea what happens to it. It feels like you're being responsible because you're not being wasteful. But does it get recleaned? Does it go to? Is it recycled in the right way? We don't really know. No, they don't tell you that. They're just saying that we're being good and you charge you £1 for the cup. I'm sure it's actually a really good money making exercise. If I'm honest. And it also makes it a bit cleaner.
Suggest.
Yeah, and it saves people cleaning up after them. But you still see, there was probably 20 or 30 kids running around picking up massive stacks of plastic cups and taking them back to the bar.
Yeah, making their money.
So that they're making loads of money off the little kids are making money off the back of it. And it kind of like saves them paying for loads of cleaners, doesn't it? So who knows? Maybe there's another motivation behind it. But it seemed quite green at the time.
Well, it's interesting you say that because that almost collides with what everyone's saying about the deposit return scheme. Is that a lot of people would put Coke cans or plastic cups or coffee cups in their doorstep recycling. But if you put a deposit return scheme, people would take it back to where they purchased it, which means the local council.
Drive into town.
Well,
take a can back.
Well,
is that environmentally friendly?
But you were just saying the kids were picking up all the plastic cups, and because they're making some money on it. So where there's the opportunity to make a little bit of cash, some people might go around, pick them all out, take them back to a shop. So instead of local council receiving the money for the PET Coke cans or the aluminium cups, they lose that revenue, which underpins the whole of local doorstep recycling. If it goes back into doorstep recycling, goes via the retailer, who probably won't make any money, the industry takes a step back because the money isn't there to sustain a doorstep collection. And it would happen. I mean, I'm old enough to remember some of the collections that happened in the 70s, and you go around trying to pick out some stuff from hedgerows. I mean, it was self-cleaning littering then, and take it back and get your money back on bottles and things.
So we have loads of little entrepreneurial kids running around at 7 o'clock at night, rifling for our recycling bins, taking the cans back.
It's a possibility. Yeah.
Cool. No, that's interesting. So moving around the food service industry, we were mentioning about using less resources.
Yeah, interesting what you're saying about the bond suites and people taking it, and we were saying about food protection. Some of the issues that were highlighted by the FPA, who we're a member of, at the environmental seminar. Friends of the Earth and Greenpeace are regular speakers at those, and other people of a similar industry background. We're talking about the Ellen McCarthy full circular effect on the economy. Really interesting. So as you were saying, using less of everything, making things less disposable, reusing more, and that's what her foundation is looking to do, is use less in the economy. We're using far too much resource out of the planet at the moment.
100%.
So really interesting concept. Well, it's not a concept. Really interesting what she's trying to do, push forward, and hopefully the industry will react and we'll have more reusable things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
technologies are there.
Yeah, they are, and you don't have to be too clever. Sometimes people try to be too clever at things, and that's why if you keep it simple, it will work. And a bit like the recycling with the straws and the paper, going from plastic to paper, it's a simple concept. It's cottoned on, very, very easy to do, very easy to portray, very easy to tell people. But when you try and make things too complicated, sometimes it gets lost in translation. And we've already been doing this sort of recycling for a long time, but it tends to be sort of the smaller businesses. I went to Borough Market probably 7 years ago, and there's a stand there where you can go and take a wine bottle, and you can basically fill your wine bottle up, and it's got like a pop down cork, and then you take it away, and you drink it, and then you go back and you pop it open, and you just obviously wash the bottle out, but you fill it back up again.
I went to Oktoberfest in Earl's Court 15 years ago, and you bought a reusable plastic glass there. So instead of disposable glasses, they just had the same one, and you went round from keg to keg and filled up your glass, just as you were saying, and that's 15 years ago.
You had to buy another one because you lost it because you couldn't remember where you put it. But cool. Industry bodies. What industry bodies are you guys members of?
Well, I think we've mentioned a couple of them. Food Service Packaging Association, fabulous body for the catering industry. Really, really done well the last couple of years with all the industry news. Their chairman, Martin Kirsch, is regularly on the news, fielding questions, does a really good question and answer, knows his stuff. But the whole industry has got together and tried to respond in an industry-centric way that is the right response, we think, for how to move forward. So it's not just a knee-jerk reaction to paper cups or other issues which are straws and things. So plastic straws is not, well, very important, but plastic straw is part of a much wider industry problem of recyclability. So they've been fantastic. Bucks Business First, if you're a new business setting up, have a look see if there is something similar in your county. I can't recommend them highly enough. They're free to join. You can go to seminars about how to set your business up, how to do ongoing marketing, how to organise your finances. Been really helpful, and they organise industry awards and things. Also, member the FSB, who do some similar stuff as well. And have been useful. They've got a legal team there you can phone up if necessary. Excellent.
So everything you need for a small business to sort of support you.
All cost effective, and I'd say really important.
Excellent.
No, do good deals.
So I put in new technology. Just quickly, any real new technology that's in your area?
Web design or Cater for You, or any of it?
Any of it, really. Let's go to Cater for You for the minute. Just see what you think from.
So new technology for Cater for You. There's a lot of new technology in terms of packaging materials. Most interesting plastic that's coming out now is PLA. It's been around for a while. We touched upon earlier about compostability and how it degrades. So a lot of new products now have PLA in, so it'll automatically degrade, although it hasn't got a very high temperature resistance, which is why it degrades. But so the technology of packaging is changing quite quickly. But the industry as a whole is coming back to the web design area, so we're launching a new website soon. We like to think we've always been at the forefront, and so we're launching a new one because we only launched it 3 years ago and it's already out of date. And mobile apps, as we know, when we go down to Brighton, we go to conferences all over the place as well as Brighton, we look at new technologies that are coming up and thinking, wow, we're never going to use that will never make mainstream. Before you know it, it's there. A couple of years ago we were looking, and someone said about voice search, and then suddenly the Alexas came in, the Google Homes came in.
Massively popular.
Incredibly popular.
I was listening to a thing this morning about how the next layer of everyone's technology is going to be the voice, obviously, and it's going to be turned around in as much as that people are now are starting to build apps over the top of the voice. So you can now, a bit like you could play a game on Alexa. So you could ask Alexa to load a game. It loads the game. It's an app. It's a third-party app that someone's built to go on top of their platform. You may buy it. You may actually purchase it for your account, Amazon account. And then you start playing the game via a voice-activated game. It could be a quiz game or whichever. But there's going to be service behind that as well. Training, maybe coaching. Who knows? There's a whole level of product that isn't even invented yet that will eventually, in the next 2 to 3 years, will be on that Alexa or the Google Home or whichever.
Absolutely, and as a business, we need to adapt to that. But from where Cater4U's been built on terms of organic search results, as Trade Depot has, and also more lately the pay-per-click results as Google has needed to monetize its investment over the years, those are becoming irrelevant now. It's only the top search result that gets delivered, and invariably that's a Google search result or Alexa's own web search. So Alexa and Amazon, I assume everyone knows Alexa's owned by Amazon. Amazon bought Alexa many years ago, kept it quiet, and then it's now delivering its own search results. So Google has got a competitor with Alexa big time now, which is why they brought their own home device, since they've probably seen that. So those are the kind of changes in the market, the new technologies. We also saw AI when we were down in Brighton, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely.
We sat through all the conferences, were really relevant, and we thought, AI, that's not really any interest to us at all. and she was a brilliant speaker, wasn't she? And we watched it all, and was thinking by the end of it we were searching for 3D phones, weren't we? 3D video recorders.
Yep. Trying to find out ideas of using that for the future. And you mentioned a really good point, actually, because at the minute we mentioned like that you have top for many search engine results for lots of long tail keywords, as we call it. So maybe not just a plastic cup, but a longer one. What's interesting is going forward in the Trading Depot and Chalfont Web Design, and also for your Cater For You business, is that on voice, when I ask, where can I go and get a product, a plastic cup from, for instance, there's not going to be 5 pages worth. It's not going to continuously read 5 pages out of results.
No,
it's only going to be maybe 1 or 2.
And that's going to be Google's featured snippet, which is just the top one, which is gained from somebody else's website.
Yeah.
So it's not even the website. It's going to be Google delivering the answer and not saying the website.
Yeah, exactly. So straight away, how are we as businesses are going to be be at the front of that? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be paid advertising, I'm sure. So some kind of paid revenue to be the number one in the future. They'll monetize the featured snippets, I'm sure. Or something.
But of course, Amazon's result, the Alexa results, are all its own products on store, and it will deliver its own products.
Yeah, it will. Amazon's very clever because the buy box on the platform is the key in many ways, because whatever it says, the first result people go for, especially if it says Prime next to it, people just click on it and buy it. They don't even question it. It may have 5 other results that will give you different prices. It says from this, but it will just go straight for the first one and off you go. Going forward for that, I really think Amazon's only ever going to deliver its own results if it can ever help it.
But they also do Amazon do pay per click as well. So Amazon will only deliver the people who've also bid highest for that, as well as within their own warehouses.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
How do you compete with that with your own website? It's tough.
Exactly. So you're going to have to pay Amazon for the click, and you're going to be paying Amazon for the transaction, because they're either transacting it for you, putting it in their warehouse, or they're buying it. It's going to be one of those. So they've got it all sewn up, really.
Absolutely. At the moment.
At the moment, until someone else brings another one out. Which, who knows, in another couple of years it will change, I'm sure.
Well, over the 20 years, as we touched upon earlier, these brands come and go. And Facebook was massive, eBay was massive. I actually think we've reached peak Facebook now. I don't think people are on Facebook as much. You look at the posts, people aren't posting as much.
No.
Bizarrely, Instagram's taken over. I don't particularly understand it. That's probably my age. It just seems like a new type of Facebook. I know Facebook own it, but the kids don't use Facebook at all. I've got teenage children, they don't use Facebook at all. So brands come and go.
Snapchat probably. Snapchat. I think if you're looking at the young market, Snapchat probably is the biggest area. Sub 25. Maybe even sub 22. It is the younger market. Instagram then covers that broad, between the 20s through to the 30s and 40s maybe, and then the Facebook still is fairly active with the older generation, the mums thinking they're checking up on their kids but they're not even on it.
Well, I quite often use Facebook just so my parents follow me and say, I saw you on Facebook today, just to sort of let them know what I'm doing. Exactly. Rather than having to phone them.
Yeah, that's very nice of you, Andy. I'm sure they'll be appreciated when they listen to this. Just moving on. So social media, we've kind of covering a lot of social media at the minute, but for me, how has social media affected you as in your business? Has that really come into it? Bearing in mind you're a B2B, do you find in the mainstream?
Well, we're an interesting mix of B2B and we teeter on B2C. We say we're B2B, but a lot of people came to us originally as small manufacturers, so people working from their tabletop in the kitchen. So when the 2008 recession came along, again, you're probably too young to remember that, Darren.
Not to know. I wish I was.
We've only been working together for 20 years.
Yeah.
But a lot of people started making cupcakes. I don't know if you remember it, but the whole craze was to make a cupcake, and people think, I'll make £1 a cupcake. And in 2008, that was good money when people didn't have jobs and they needed it. But Cater For You rode on the back of that. And so is that B2B? Is that B2C? But coming back to what you're saying about social media, very important now. People are always putting the catering results online. I guess people are always taking photographs and putting it on social media. Pinterest we haven't mentioned, and that's a massive social driver for us. We get a lot of referrals. It's probably one of our top channels to our website is Pinterest.
How do you try and capitalise on that? Do you actively seek customers' photographs and products that they're sharing, and get yourselves tagged in that? Is that something you actively seek?
More and more recently, as I said earlier, we've got a great team at Cater For You.
Cool.
And we let them sort of, well, I didn't say it implicitly, but we talked about how to encourage people, and we've noticed a few of them, they like social media, so we've encouraged them to do it. In fact, they came to us and said, we haven't got an Instagram channel, let's do it, Andy. So they've just got cracked on and done it. We've already
Excellent.
got hundreds of followers in a fairly short time scale. We've had our Twitter and Facebook accounts running. We generally publish the same content across all the channels just so we capture it. But so they're running with Instagram. People are actively posting their products because it's mutual promotion as well, and we publish it to ours, and it's interactive. It's great, actually. It's really good to see what some of our customers use the product for as well.
Yes, you've empowered some young people as well at the same time, which is good, isn't it? To let them sort of have a purpose within the business and have a bit of ownership.
Absolutely, and it comes back to why I went into marketing, I guess. It's a thrill of knowing somebody's looked at your product, you've done something to make them look at the product, they bought it, they're getting the same thrill and buzz, I guess, from posting something and people responding, the interactivity, and they're straight on it as well, and it's great. I love watching them do it, and they're much better than me as well. And to be honest,
well, everyone loves that the bit to be liked, don't we? Everyone likes a hit of dopamine is the drug I think it releases when we see someone's texted us or liked us and clicked on it. And I think of young people with the speed of which today everything interacts. They can put a picture up there and they get a couple of likes and straight away, do you know what, I've made a difference to
and they are making a difference,
and they feel good about it themselves as well.
We're making a difference to our customers because we're publishing their products to a wider audience.
That's really good.
Some of the stuff, innovative stuff out there, we touched on fashions earlier, but I probably didn't mention it, but vegan foods are massive for our business. So I like to think we're a leader in the ethical sourced products, the biodegradable things as mentioned earlier, and the vegan and ethical businesses are really artisan business that push that forward. And it's amazing some of the stuff they're coming up with, that the food and creativity our customers have got to deliver something that is marketable. I mean, vegan is a traditional laughing stock, I guess, of the catering industry, but some of the products they're coming up with is fantastic. They look amazing and they're thriving.
And another area we should have probably mentioned under fashion as well was the sort of take your own tub in. I don't know what the technical term of it is, where you take your own tub in. That seems to be popping up everywhere, doesn't it?
I haven't seen that actually.
You can go and get coffee.
Our team probably know better. But
but you can go and get tea and coffee in a shop. There's a company called Eat 17 that do it, and you can basically take your own refillable tub in, and you go and, a bit like you used to go and buy sweets. You remember this? We used to go and buy the sweets. Was it Bonds of London? Something like that?
I can't remember. Halfpenny sweets.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know what it was. But you used to have all the jars in the sweet shop behind, and you used to go in and you take a bag and you say, I want half a pound or a quarter pound or whatever of a certain sweet, and you get your lemon sherbets, whatever they were, and they'd be in the big tubs behind. So essentially you can go into companies like Eat 17, and they've got some very fashionable places in London, and you basically take your own container in, jam jar sort of thing. You go in, you weigh the jam jar first so they know the weight of it, so it's sort of zero, if that makes sense, and then you go in, you fill up your tea, your coffee, your nuts, or whatever you want to go and fill up, your pulses, your fruits, your oats, whatever. They've got big dispensers, and you walk up, you fill it up to your own thing, put the lid on it, you go and weigh it again, and you pay for the product inside.
I mean, interesting point now, it covers off what we were saying earlier about food hygiene. The only thing that always the industry talks about is having to make sure the product is delivered in transit in a safe, something that doesn't increase food waste and maximum hygiene, which is why we don't split our products up. We have to retain the integrity of the hygiene. But something that also you sort of triggered off in there is food waste. People are, the industry is big on food waste. How much food is wasted in this country? How much food is chucked out? And so food packaging has a great role in that. So if they can equip people coming to the restaurants or takeaways with the proper things, as long as it's hygienic and people don't get ill after it, then great. Has to be.
Take your food away and get ill. That's not a good advert, is it?
No. But then you see, someone did a great presentation in one of the food packaging seminars about coconuts being covered in plastic. That is ridiculous. Cucumbers covered in it. They don't need it.
Why?
Really? Yeah. So
who even invented that?
It's just nuts, isn't it? So either shop at your local greengrocers, as they don't have anything in plastic. They just give you paper bags. You can do. It's all plastic-free aisles there, and then or supermarkets. Get rid of some of that stuff. It's not needed. Use paper bags, all biodegradable, compostable. And you don't need plastic for that kind of thing. and only buy stuff more regularly when you need it, rather than let it rot in the fridge. So you don't need the more intensive plastic packaging.
No, true, perfect. So I've put on here about life experiences and what you pass on to your younger self. I'm always massively keen on the fact that if I could talk to myself when I first started, I'd have done a lot of things differently. So I'm always, what
would you do differently, Andrew?
What would I do differently?
You've done well.
Yeah, I have, but I confidence was the thing I lacked back in many years ago. And confidence in what I believed in was actually the right thing to do. And this podcast, I actually came up with the idea of it 3 years ago, and it's now 3 years down the line. I've thought about it probably 50, 60 times in the last 3 years, and something's always told me that we need to do this, and it's the right thing to do. And we should also, there's a few other things we need to do as well, but we're slowly I'm getting there now. Now I've got the team here to get behind it and the infrastructure to do it. Now is the right time to do it. But if I'd have started 3 years ago, it still would have been the right time. We'd have just been 3 years further on.
Yeah.
But
I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier as well, about you can only try these things if you've got the day-to-day stuff running right. So if you're an employee, you've got to focus on your day-to-day, keep the revenue coming in, make sure that's everything's still viable, and then do this other stuff which pushes the boundaries, is interesting. But yeah, confidence, absolutely right. When you're younger, or when I was younger as well, I didn't have any confidence in myself. I didn't think I had the ability to do anything. And looking back, it's actually, I did know what I was talking about. I should have had more confidence, should have gone for it more. Although in my day, Darren,
yes,
back in the day, the job market was a lot more limited. There was sort of very much less opportunity out there. You were very much pigeonholed, whereas now there is much more opportunity. So I'd have loved to have been a DJ, for example, music DJ. It's like music is my passion. I love music. And I should have had, could have done it. Wasn't given the opportunity, didn't think I had the opportunity, didn't think I could do it. And same web design, I should have pushed myself further. I only set up the business by accident when I got made redundant, and actually it was a blessing in disguise when my employer at the time just said, well, we can't pay you next week. Okay, am I redundant then?
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Thanks,
yeah.
Okay. I suppose there's no redundancy pay. No, off you go.
Yeah, see you later.
Right, okay.
I mean, it's interesting you say that the job market is a lot better today than it was. It's sort of more broader. You can basically do whatever you want to do. And something that also young people today, your parents, you tell your kids you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. You just got to do it. Then they go through life, everything's 100 miles an hour, and then you speak to some of them and they go, well, what do you want to do? I don't know. It's like, what are you doing? Well,
it's too much choice.
Along. And it's almost too much choice. And sometimes you need to start and do something and stick with it and work with it. And that's the thing for me when I speak to some people. We've got a great team here at Trading Depot and some great young guys. But you speak to some of them and they're like fall into the warehouse, or they're falling into the role within the business. And when they fall into that role, and they actually do quite well at it, and they really get a bit of motivation, they get some good pushing along. But on the other side of it, is it what they dreamed of when they was a kid? No. Is it what their parents told them they could do and be anything and do anything? No. But it's still a job, it's still paying the wages, and if they've got the enthusiasm and the foresight to go and do something they're passionate about, the guys have done it. We've had people come here, learn, find themselves, ground themselves, and then go off and do other things, and that is rewarding from my point of view.
Absolutely, yeah. And given the opportunities now, I think we've chatted before about the fact that we can, in the old days when we first met, doing a video was impossible. Only people with really high-end technology could possibly think about creating a video, doing the setup, the editing, and publishing it somewhere onto a VHS recorder, which might be out there. But now you've got all that on your phone. The quality on the phone is probably better than the equipment we used back in the day, or they used back in the day. And you can upload to YouTube, which then gets a mass audience. The opportunities are much broader from that respect. But coming back to what you were saying about empowering people, it's quite interesting that a lot of people just want to do the job 9 to 5 and that's it. They just want to go home. Sometimes you ask people, what do you think? And it's like, oh, I don't know, I've never thought, or never been asked before. I've never thought about about the job. They just want to come and do the job, get it over and done with, and then enjoy their social life. Absolutely fine. Not everybody is motivated by business, I guess, and what they want to do. And actually, there's very few people out there who have maybe got that entrepreneurial flair to set up their own business. But if you're passionate about something, you should still have a go, and there are lots of people out there who can help you set up the company. So KTVU is based in Buckinghamshire, and we've got a great outlet called Buckinghamshire Business First.
Yep.
And I've been to a few of their seminars, and there's people there just starting up. They haven't got a clue, but they're passionate about what they do. Bumped into a couple the other day who are doing personal training, just come out of the army, and listening to them, they were passionate about what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go. They wanted to help people, but they didn't know how to set up the business and where to start, frankly, and why should they?
Yeah.
And but if you have got that passion for something else rather than maybe a 9 to 5 warehouse job, or 8 to 5 warehouse job as it is here, there is still the opportunity. You can get out there and do it, but it's somehow sparking that interest in people to become their own bosses.
To go and do it. That's the thing. About being passionate, you've got to go and do it. And I was chatting yesterday to a lady, and her daughter's 14 years old, and she's very passionate about wanting to give people with mental health their sort of like a wish, a bit like a Make-A-Wish, but for mental health.
Yeah.
Because Make-A-Wish only do physical. I didn't know this till yesterday, but Make-A-Wish Foundation only do stuff for people with physical disabilities opposed to mental disabilities.
Okay.
And I didn't know that, and there isn't really a charity that does that. And she's very, very young, but she's passionate about it. She set up a website. She set up a charitable organisation. She's how young's that? I mean, how entrepreneurial is that? And then overnight, she's raised money, and she just granted the first wish to a young boy who wanted to go on a helicopter, and they've given him a helicopter ride. And you think to yourself, well, how amazing is that? Is a young girl, 14 years old, gone off, set up a charity, because she's passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that's the difference, is you can do it if you want to, if you really, really want to. That's the difference.
I mean, some people don't want to, and that's fine. Yeah, they just want to be there, and that's what they want to do. Is they got a role at work, and they don't want to take the risk. I've got some very, very clever friends who haven't got the urge to set their own business. They just want to stay within a company, which is fine, and then it's up to their employers then to get the most out of them and use their brilliance. I mean, I've chatted to you with someone about one in particular who's fantastic at social marketing, but never quite made the step out, and he could easily do it, but not interested. So not everybody wants to start their own.
No, it's not about your own business, but then they excel in their own business within the organisation, so they're passionate about it. They come to work, it's rewarding.
And as an employer, you have to try and identify what they're interested in, chat to them regularly, and just like a guy at KTVU set the Instagram up, fantastic. Yeah, good. Just go and do it. Brilliant.
Superb. No, that's excellent. I've put a note on here about so we did go a little bit off topic about your younger self, but go and do it, I think, was the thing. Confidence and go and do it.
I think we both agree on that. Confidence. 100%. Have confidence in yourself, and actually the opportunities are, if you want to do something, you can do it, but do something to help yourself do it. Yeah. Don't just sit in the background.
And ask questions, I suppose, and get people to help you. Moving on, books you've read. What do you read? What's your interest, passion?
I hardly ever read. It's really bad. No. I do enjoy reading. I used to love reading. When I'm away on holiday, I usually just sit down and read a book, usually autobiography, musicians normally as well.
You said you're passionate about music, yeah.
Yeah. So the last one, fun enough, was Bruce Dickinson, I think, the last book I read, which we then saw at Magento.
Yeah, that was amazing. He was amazing. I didn't even know who he was. I didn't know who he was, but what an amazing guy. Yeah.
It was great for me because I read his book, and so I could relate to a lot of what he was saying. So when he came on stage, I didn't even realise he was coming on stage.
No.
And it was like, oh wow, fantastic. I knew what a magnificent individual he was, and fantastic to watch. But I listen to podcasts, I read a lot of magazines. Money Week, great all round for politics, business, what's happening in the city, other companies, great way of learning about what's happening in the world. Cool. And just reading newspaper sites online.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, one thing was interesting with Bruce Dickinson about going to do things. Bearing in mind he was in a band, massively successful band, making decent money, travelling around, having the life that a lot of people would dream of. But he woke up one day without fulfilment from that. And that was the amazing thing. And he went off and did something else. He left the band and essentially set up an airline from a longer term.
But what we didn't talk about at the beginning was he was hugely driven because he had no money to start off. He was living out in squats to start with, and he had no money. And so he pushed himself further, took the risks and took it. And he never stopped taking risks. Just said earlier, one of those people who will take a risk.
Yeah, left a very successful band and set up an airline essentially after a while. That's just amazing. But hey ho, that's good. What's the hardest part of your job?
Saying no, I think, probably. I love what I do. I love meeting all the people. I'm so lucky that I come into Trading Depot occasionally. I cater for you most of the week. I do my web design stuff a couple other days a week. And if somebody wants something or asks something, I can't say no. I think that also comes from the self-employed days when there was very little work around, and But I just love meeting people. I love finding out new things, but it does mean I am stretched.
Passion for learning. Not saying no, but it's an important part of all businesses and life skills, to be honest. And that's something, again, you learn, is to say no. Sometimes it's harder to say no, but it's actually the right decision.
Yep.
And that's very important. I think a lot of people should, if they feel with your gut that you should say no, then maybe you should say no. I've learned that a lot.
One thing I have learned how to do is delegate, though.
Yeah,
I've said before, I've got a great team at K2. One of the best things was when Mark joined us, and he took over the reins of the day-to-day running. So I was doing all my website work, picking, packing, ordering, dealing with customers. Mark came on board, fabulous, and he took the day-to-day running essentially from there, and we worked together well as a team. But so delegation I find very easy. One of the best things I ever heard from one of my former employers was just surround you with people who are better than you are, and just organise them to do a better job than you could possibly do.
Yeah, and I have the same philosophy 100%, is that, I've, again, great team here at Trading Depot.
Yep.
We have very passionate guys about what they do, and everyone's really enthusiastic, everyone loves what they do, and they're pushing things forward. So we get some great ideas from the guys, and the team here, Kelly and the team.
Well, they're the ones talking to the customers, and they get ideas from customers as well. And what about doing this? Why aren't we doing this? Never occurred to you. Well, I don't know. Why aren't we doing it? Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I came in this morning and we had training with Dyson yesterday. So the whole team did. And coming this morning, and 3 people said to me within about 5 minutes here, "That was great. Really interesting. I really enjoyed learning about the brand and the products and that kind of stuff." And you think to yourself, well, you just you really interested, or have you actually learned? No, I really enjoyed it.
They told me as well when I came.
Exactly. And how cool is that?
Genuine.
Is that people are actually that interested to learn about a brand, a manufacturer, and a product. Even as some of their products are quite sexy, but is a hand dryer sounds quite boring, really. But let's face it, when you take the technology and the brand behind it, they're fabulous. Yeah,
it comes back to employee training, so that's one instance. I mentioned Bucks Business First, where K2 is located in Buckinghamshire. They do some great courses, and I always put it out to the guys, and a few of them always go on courses, and they love it, and they come back and they've picked stuff up that I don't know, and implement it in the business. Great.
Cool. Favourite film, Andy? What sort of films and movies? What are you into? You got a Netflix subscription?
I actually cancelled that recently because my daughter was watching it too much, so I switched it off.
Yeah.
Transpired she just set her own account up. I don't know how she did
With
it.
your card, probably?
Probably, yes. Same as my Amazon Prime account is now used for everything.
Yeah.
But I don't really watch films. I watched a Bond film last night.
Did you?
It's about the last time I went to the cinema was the last Bond film.
Can you remember what film it was?
Last night.
Yeah, well, I know you're getting old. You might forget by now. What film was it?
It was GoldenEye last night.
GoldenEye.
Very good.
Classic,
yes.
Very good.
But no, I don't really. I watch sport.
Not
really.
in a film. Too busy working. Probably.
Too busy working. Yes.
Too busy
I do
working.
feel my
sat
house
in front of
work.
a computer. Yeah, fill his hours working. Not only his main job, but his other main job
His
and
hobby.
his other main job. And his hobby. Cool. And I think that's it really. We've really wrapped it up. I hope it's been useful.
I hope that was of interest. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And
We didn't mention much about Trading Depot, who obviously I helped set up, but another
that's
podcast if listeners demand it.
Yeah, exactly, definitely. No, it's good. It's interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Darren. Good fun.
Thank you.